Biden just gave an economic speech. And within that economic speech, he did something that I thought was kind of cute but important. He taunted Trump using the stock market, but he took it a step beyond, and I think it's important what he did today. What's your thoughts?
The House and Senate have to advance my Build Back Better agenda. That bill contains critical investments in child care to make it easier for families to be able to go to work. In home care for seniors, the polling data shows among your generation, all of you out here, your greatest concern is caring for your elderly parent. It's about paid leave, allowing people with a new child or a sick spouse at home to take care of them without risking losing their paycheck. Not indefinitely, but for a time period they can actually make a difference. Universal pre-K and community college, making us significantly better educated and increasing our competitive edge globally. And we'll combat climate change by building our clean energy future, creating millions of jobs and building windmills and solar panels all around the country and transmitting it to parts that don't have that capacity. We're going to bring down the cost of prescription drugs by allowing Medicare to finally be able to negotiate drug prices with producers, and so much more. We're going to deliver these investments without raising taxes 1 cent on anyone making less than $400,000 a year. We're going to do it by leveling the playing field, by just having a fair system where we ask the largest corporations and the wealthiest Americans to begin to pay their fair share, not more. They can still make millions of dollars. The super wealthy are still going to be able to have 3 homes. It's not going to affect anything. The fact of the matter is, though, it's about time they begin to pay their fair share. 55 of the largest corporations in America last year paid 0 in federal taxes. It just seems to me it's time they start to pay their fair share, like everybody else. And it comes up to billions of dollars if they pay. The irony of ironies is during the recession and the pandemic, where the vast majority of Americans are struggling just to hang on, the number of billionaires in America actually grew. I want to hold here for just a second. There have been so many records the stock market has hit under my presidency. Imagine if the other guy was here. We're doing great. It's wonderful. The stock market is surging. It's gone up higher to me than anybody. But that doesn't mean that it's the best for the economy. Stock market has set 40 record highs just this year. They can afford to pay just a little bit more. But folks, right now, the House and Senate are working on my plan to generate a fair tax system and close loopholes that big corporations and super wealthy use to pay less. There's a group of experts, left, right, and center, who estimate that right now we lose more than $100 billion a year in tax revenue owed from the top 1% of taxpayers alone. Not because of low tax rates, but because the wealthy people aren't paying the taxes they owe. We're going to change that so that they pay taxes just like typical hardworking Americans do right now. We're going to use the money we collect from the tax cuts to give tax cuts to middle-class families, to make it easier to raise kids, to take care of your aging parents, and so much more. Not a single Republican supports this plan. And some big corporations are spending millions of dollars to try to escape their obligation to pay the taxes they owe, leaving working families to pay a larger share of the burden. Somebody's got to pay. And when those who can afford to pay aren't paying anywhere near their fair share, it means you all pay more.
I love the construction of this speech that he gave today, because he did all the things a Democrat needs to do. But before I explain this in detail, please remember, click on that stuff up there if you like the videos that we make, if you're in support of what we're trying to do here to expand the progressive message, etc. But anyhow, I love what he did. Number one, he articulated what he wanted to do, but he didn't only say what he wanted to do. He said, I want to do childcare so that people can go to work. I want to do extended leave so that people can take care of their families, etc., etc., etc. What I want to do, what problem it solves. Perfect articulation. Second thing that he did, he went ahead and he made minuscule the previous president who only talked about the stock market as if that had a relationship with the average American family, which it does not really. That's an imaginary gambling casino. But the what affects the families are quite different. And he minusculed the former president for concentrating on that and not the middle class. Then what he did, is he made sure people, the next thing that people always have in their mind is, well, we can't really do all of that. How is it going to be paid for? He did two things very importantly. He said, for those people that are making this amount of money, $400,000 and below, you will see no tax increases. So then who is going to pay for it? He then says, the wealthy is going to pay for that. The wealthy is going to pay for that. The next question then is, but wait a minute, you can't suck it to the wealthy. There's not even enough money to do that for the wealthy. And then he points out, look, even at the heights of the pandemic, imagine we created more billionaires, so they continue to take. Remember that. Then he points out, and by the way, there's $100 billion without any tax increase at all that these rich yahoos are hiding from you and not paying. We want to collect that. And there's even further. Do you know that many of them actually pay legally zero in taxes? We've got to correct that as well. So there's a lot of places where we can get money from. So you don't need to feel like if we are sucking it to the rich, somehow it's going to affect you, or if making the rich pay, it's going to somehow change your standard of living. It is not. The thing about it is the wealthy, their obsession with wealth is obscene, because it is not about them creating anything or anything of that sort. It's about just accumulating, herding wealth, herding capital because they can. That's what it's about. Capital that, by the way, is unearned. We have to get that into people's psyche as well. So the construction of this speech, and then he wanted to show that he ended that portion that I clipped. They don't pay their fair share affects you. So that he made it a direct result of their intransigence, something that materially, economically affects you. The speech, I think, was well constructed, and at that you got the necessary ding on the former president, so that whatever words he come out and say now, you only thought about the stock market. I think that was excellently constructed. Great job. Now, what we as middle class folk have to do is hold the president accountable to those pretty words. Make sure that he turned those words into action. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.